The story of tuna and radioactivity is one that has recently captured global attention, raising questions and even fears about the safety of one of the world's most beloved seafoods. This concern, while not new, has surged again in the wake of a significant event. In August 2023, Japan began releasing treated wastewater from the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant into the Pacific Ocean. This carefully planned release, expected to continue for several decades, has reignited international debate, fueled headlines, and prompted some to wonder, could the tuna on my plate really be radioactive? To understand why this is such a hot-button issue, we need to go back to March 2011. That year, a massive earthquake and tsunami struck Japan, triggering the Fukushima nuclear disaster. Reactors at the Fukushima Daiichi plant suffered meltdowns, releasing radioactive materials into the environment. In the years that followed, the plant operator, Tokyo Electric Power Company, TEPCO, was faced with a monumental challenge: how to safely store and eventually dispose of the contaminated water used to cool the reactors. Fast forward to 2023, and the world is once again watching Fukushima. After extensive treatment processes designed to remove most radioactive substances, Japan decided to begin releasing the water into the Pacific. The move was not made lightly. TEPCO and Japanese authorities had to address not just the technical challenges, but also the concerns of neighboring countries, environmental groups, and, crucially, the global seafood industry.
So what exactly is in this treated water? The answer lies in the details of nuclear science. The treatment systems at Fukushima removed nearly all radioactive elements except for one, tritium. Tritium is a radioactive isotope of hydrogen, and it's notoriously difficult to separate from water. But here's the key point. Tritium is considered relatively harmless in low concentrations. It emits low-energy radiation, and when diluted in the vast expanse of the ocean, the risks associated with it drop dramatically.
Before the release, Japanese authorities diluted the treated water so that its tritium concentration was about 1/7 of the World Health Organization's guideline for drinking water. That's an important benchmark. It means that from a purely scientific perspective, the water being released is well below internationally recognized safety limits. But science isn't the only factor at play. Perception and trust are equally important, especially when it comes to food. Neighboring countries like China and regions such as Hong Kong quickly responded to Japan's decision with import bans on certain Japanese seafood, citing health concerns and the need to protect their citizens. In the global marketplace, even the suggestion of contamination can have far-reaching economic and psychological effects.
For the average person, the core question remains: does this mean our tuna is radioactive? And if so, is it dangerous? To answer that, it helps to look at the evidence from past events. After the initial Fukushima disaster in 2011, scientists monitored radiation levels in Pacific marine life, including bluefin tuna. In a widely cited 2012 study, researchers detected trace amounts of radioactive isotopes, specifically cesium-134 and cesium-137, in tuna caught off the US West Coast. However, the concentrations were more than an order of magnitude below the Japanese food safety limits. In other words, you'd have to eat an enormous amount of this tuna for the radiation to even approach levels of health concern.
The situation today is even more clear-cut. The water currently being released from Fukushima contains only tritium, and in concentrations far below international safety thresholds. Experts from around the world, including the International Atomic Energy Agency, have reviewed Japan's plans and concluded that the environmental and health risks are negligible. Still, the fear persists. For many, the phrase radioactive tuna conjures images of glowing fish and dire consequences. But in reality, radioactivity is a natural part of our world. Bananas, for example, contain potassium-40, a naturally occurring radioactive isotope. The radiation dose from eating a banana is minuscule, about the same as the dose from eating Pacific tuna, even after Fukushima. That's not to say that vigilance isn't important. Japan has pledged to closely monitor the situation, testing both the water and the seafood that comes from affected regions. Independent organizations and international agencies are also conducting their own tests, providing layers of oversight and transparency. The Japanese government is acutely aware of the economic stakes. Seafood is a major export, and consumer confidence is critical. In the meantime, the bans imposed by China and Hong Kong have led to diplomatic efforts. Japan is working through the World Trade Organization to resolve the disputes, emphasizing its commitment to science-based safety standards and open communication. The stakes are high, not just for Japan, but for the global seafood industry. If fear takes hold, markets could collapse, livelihoods could be lost, and consumers might turn away from healthy, sustainable sources of protein. So what should you do if you love tuna? The answer, according to the best available science, is simple. Keep enjoying it. The radiation dose from eating seafood caught in the Pacific, including tuna, remains so low as to be negligible. For context, a person would receive a far higher dose of radiation from a single dental X-ray, a cross-country flight, or even from the natural background radiation present in everyday life. Of course, the legacy of Fukushima is not just about numbers and risk assessments. It's also about trust, transparency, and the need for ongoing vigilance. The story of radioactive tuna is, in many ways, a story about our relationship with technology, nature, and each other. It's about how we respond to uncertainty, how we communicate risk, and how we balance economic, environmental, and health concerns in a complex and interconnected world. For Japan, the decision to release treated wastewater was not made in isolation. It was the result of years of debate, expert consultation, and international scrutiny. The process is being monitored at every step, with regular reports and independent verification. The goal is not just to protect the environment, but also to restore confidence in Japanese seafood, in scientific oversight, and in the global food system. Meanwhile, for consumers around the world, the key takeaway is this. While the words radioactive tuna make for a dramatic headline, the reality is far more reassuring. The concentrations of radioactive materials in Pacific seafood are well below safety limits, and the health risks are vanishingly small. Eating tuna today is just as safe as it was before the Fukushima wastewater release began. That said, the story is far from over. The release of treated water will continue for decades, and so will the monitoring, reporting, and debate. Scientists will keep testing, governments will keep negotiating, and the public will keep asking questions. That's as it should be. In a world where food safety, environmental protection, and public trust are all at stake, there is no room for complacency. In the end, the saga of tuna and radioactivity reminds us of the power of science, not just to measure and assess risks, but also to inform, reassure, and guide us through uncertainty. It reminds us that vigilance and transparency are essential, but so is perspective. The next time you enjoy a piece of sushi or a tuna salad, remember, the real story is not one of danger, but of diligence, of careful monitoring, international cooperation, and a shared commitment to both safety and truth. So, was it tuna or was it radioactive? The answer, according to the latest science, is that it was tuna, safe, delicious, and as free from danger as ever. The only thing glowing is the light of understanding as we navigate the challenges of a complex world, one bite at a time.